All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Megan Green, and I'm a registered dietitian at Launch My Health. And I am so happy that you're joining us on your lunch, and hopefully you're enjoying and eating your lunch as you're sitting here. Today, we're going to talk about sleep. So I'm a registered dietitian. I have been for about 10 years. And I'm not a sleep expert by credential, but I have studied sleep a lot. And what we are going to talk about really is how your sleep impacts how your body uses the nutrition that you eat, and then how the nutrition or the food you eat impact how you sleep, including quality and quantity. So I hope that you'll participate a lot today. We have Amanda on here too, who is from Launch My Health. There she is. Hopefully you can see her video. She's moderating the chat. So please chat in. I won't see those questions, but she'll make sure to kind of stop me and let me know if there's a question that I can answer, or a comment too. So don't be shy in the chat. And just so you know, the webinar recording, the slides, and the information for you will all be sent to you via email probably tomorrow after this presentation. So you will get this all written down for you as well. All right, should we get started? So before we dive into all the information, I want you to let me know how you slept last night, and just rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. No judgments here, and write it in the chat. Let us all know.
Ooh, we got some good sleepers. We've got a 10, a 9, an 8, a 10, a 5, a 7, 9, 9, 6, 7, 8, a 10 coming through.
Nice. Wow. Great. Thanks. And thanks for finding the chat, everyone. So now you know how to use it. Definitely keep participating as we go through. And thanks, Amanda. So it's not realistic that we might, maybe sleep perfectly 10 out of 10 every night. So we want to just let go of any judgments we have of ourselves. And the information today will hopefully help you get closer to that, at least. So this information I will not make you share, but anytime we are potentially making a behavior change or a change for our health, you want to stop and reflect on what you're currently doing. This is like anything in life, right? Like that's going to make it the easiest and make sure that you take the simplest path to get the result you want. And so I want you to spend 30 seconds looking at these questions and answering them in your head. And I'm going to put my mic on mute for 30 seconds so I don't talk and interrupt your thoughts. All right, self-reflection time, go. All right. So those are a few questions to get you started kind of reflecting on current state for your sleep, things that might be impacting it. And I want you to just keep that in mind as we go through. So let's start out with some sleep stats or facts. So first, 1 in 3 adults report getting less than the recommended amount of sleep. And you might be wondering, what is the actual recommendation? Well, we'll look at the chart in a second here. But it's pretty common to not be sleeping enough. Just thinking about our society and how fast-paced and how busy and cram-packed our days can get, right? But it's time to sleep. Well, after you learn more, I think you'll want to make sure you're prioritizing time to sleep. Some other stats: 50% of Americans report they snore, which can impact quality of sleep. 38% of Americans report that they fall asleep during the day unintentionally. So not like they're trying to take a little nap, but maybe dozing off. That can be even more likely for like in a dark room, right? And there's like a kind of a speaker or a sound going that's calming us and putting us to sleep. Insomnia is the most common sleep disorder in Americans, and 35% of adults get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, which is that minimum recommended amount. So about 1/3 of people, like we said, aren't getting the recommended amount. And 25 million people in America report having obstructive sleep apnea, which is one sleep disorder that can really wreak havoc on your health. So next, we're going to go into the basics of sleep. We know that most people, or 1/3 at least, aren't getting enough. We want to improve our quality too. Before we go into the basics, Amanda's going to put a little poll on the screen, and I want you to put your answer down. So alcohol is considered a stimulant. Is this true or false? We'll give you a few seconds to answer there. Amanda's going to share those results. Awesome. Look at that. Great. So 25% said true, 75% said false. Thanks, Amanda, for sharing that on the screen. And honestly, you guys, I'm sorry, this is a little mean of me, but it's kind of a trick question. So let's go to the basics of sleep and find out more. You can see on there under stimulants, it says caffeine, alcohol, nicotine. So technically, chemically classified alcohol is a depressant, but there is a stimulant effect that happens when you have alcohol. It's a short-lived stimulant effect that can impact your sleep. So even though it's technically a depressant, when it comes to sleep, it can decrease the quality of sleep and wake you up. But thanks for answering that. So basics of sleep. Your circadian rhythm is your internal body clock that really regulates when you're asleep and wakes you up. We have kind of multiple clocks actually in our body that are involved in our circadian rhythm, that we'll just kind of refer to that circadian rhythm as your body knowing when you're tired and when you need to sleep and when you need to wake up. This circadian rhythm is regulated by natural hormones produced in your body. You can see the list there: cortisol, serotonin, melatonin, adrenaline, histamine, and norepinephrine are a few. You might recognize some of those. Cortisol is often mentioned when it comes to stress. Serotonin is known as the feel-good, happy hormone or neurotransmitter in our body. Melatonin can be sometimes used as a supplement commonly for sleep. Histamine is something that is also really involved if we have like an allergic reaction. So if you think of antihistamines for allergies, histamine's involved in that. Well, guess what? It's also involved in your circadian rhythm. So these hormones take cues from things in our environment. So what would that mean? Well, daylight, that cues our hormones to start to wake our body up, or artificial light. Darkness cues our hormones that we're trying to go to sleep or to be calm and rest a little bit. Our gut bugs or the bacteria living in our gut impact our hormones. They can help our hormones thrive, or they can actually disrupt our circadian rhythm and our hormones. We're going to go into each of these a little bit more, just so you know. And then, like I said, stimulants. This could be from caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, maybe even prescription medications that you're taking might have a stimulant effect, and you don't even know. That can impact your hormones. And then the timing of exercise can also impact your hormones that regulate this internal clock or your circadian rhythm. So food is another one, of course, and we'll go into that more, but those are just the general categories besides nutrients. So what's going on in your body when you're sleeping? Your body might be resty, but there's actually a lot of restoration and processes that are happening while you're asleep. So your brain recharges and processes your thoughts. This impacts memory. We know that if you have poor sleep quality and quantity, that you're more likely to have memory issues if it's a chronic thing. Cells and tissues grow and repair. including muscle recovery. So if you know, whether you're an intense athlete or exerciser, or just exercising regularly at a moderate intensity, your body needs that rest and sleep so it can build your muscle and restore the muscle tissue. One thing that I have seen just or talked to people about over the years, a lot of my clients, is if you are, you know, exercising super intensely, but you're not getting that recovery, the saying goes, your workout's only as good as your recovery. And so again, sleep is super important for our muscles to recover. Your GI system is resting and sweeping. You can see it says there, and that's not a typo, actually. It's not supposed to say sleeping. Sweeping is the way that we refer to it. So basically, when you're resting, your digestive system is continuing to work a little bit, not digesting food, but helping byproducts of digestion move through your body. Your body actually has an internal housekeeper all to yourself, but that housekeeper only will come and work when you're not eating. So in between meals, and then only in the early stages of sleep. So that isn't something that's going on the whole night, but it's that process of helping your digestive system restore and move the rest of the byproducts through happens when you're resting. Your body restores itself physically and mentally, and of course, it's supporting your immune system and your hormone system or endocrine system. So lots is going on. And one thing I want you to think about is, remember, think back to the last night that you had a poor night of sleep. Maybe it was last night, although it sounds like a lot of people put in they had a 10 out of 10 or a high number for their rating. Think about the last time you had a really terrible night of sleep, and just kind of maybe close your eyes and do a body scan. Is there anything you remember feeling in your body when you didn't get a good night of sleep? Some people might notice, you might notice a headache. Maybe you have a pit feeling in your stomach. Maybe it's kind of endless hunger all day is a common one after having a poor night of sleep. Not having more pain than usual, feeling kind of sore or having more stiffness from a poor night of sleep is common.
We've gotten a couple people to say headaches, the headaches.
Okay.
And eating poorly the next day. Okay.
Yep. Those all make sense. And so this is one way to just kind of simply think of all the things your body is doing when it's sleeping. If it doesn't get that or get the right amount or good quality time for that, you're more likely to have pain. Actually, chronic pain is associated with poor sleep. You're more likely to have digestive issues, you know, that kind of pit feeling in the stomach because that repair didn't get to happen throughout your body. So again, just kind of knowing why I think is important. Because it can be easy to say, oh, I only need this many hours of sleep and I'm fine. But really connecting to how your body feels is helpful. And your brain is like an electrical system. It needs to be recharged. And we know that we can think clearer, speak clearer, remember more, accomplish more in our day when we sleep well. So again, it's no surprise, but poor sleep is associated over a long period of time with a higher risk for different diseases related to the brain too. So there's lots of important reasons that we need sleep. So now we know a little bit about what's going on in the body when we're sleeping on a kind of a high level. Let's look at the sleep requirements. So here it is. This is from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. And you'll notice that newborn babies need a lot more sleep than adults. And it just continues to kind of go down as we age for the amount of sleep that we need. But we still want to make sure that we're getting that 7 to 9 hours. If you have kids of any age, teenagers, this is a really helpful tool, I think, to refer to and kind of assess, you know, are they getting enough sleep? Sometimes, especially with kids school age, there's so many activities, sports or band, music, things like that, kind of looking to see, are they getting enough sleep and is it good quality? So now you kind of know how much is recommended. They even say required. Now, your genetics do play a little bit of a role in how much you personally need. So that's why there's a range of hours there. You kind of know ultimately how much better you feel. you get a certain amount or how much you need, but that 7 to 9 is the general amount. So now let's talk about what happens within your body when you're sleeping related to nutrition. So poor sleep impacts our hunger cues. Some of you mentioned this: when you get a poor night of sleep, you're hungrier throughout the rest of the day. And this is why. So if you have sleep loss, your leptin hormone in your body goes down. And leptin is the hormone that controls our fullness cues. The ghrelin is the hormone that impacts controls our hunger cues. Ghrelin, sometimes we call it growlin. That's what tells us we're hungry, our stomach's growling, is just kind of a fun association with it. So if you have a poor night of sleep, 2 poor nights of sleep in a row, your ghrelin can go up and your leptin can go down. And it really only takes 2 days for this to happen and those to become dysregulated, where you are feeling like you're constantly hungry and never satisfied. This also has been shown to increase your cravings and to increase intake of sugar. So the study specifically that looked at this really closely talked about confectionery. So that's our desserts. And then they also looked at like pasta and noodles. And don't get me wrong, I think those can fit into a healthy lifestyle every now and then for sure. But people were more likely to eat more of that throughout the day after having 2 nights of poor sleep. So that's all going back to our hunger cues. And then how does it impact our metabolism? Well, this is actually from a research study here, one of their graphics, but when we lose sleep, our glucose metabolism, which basically is just how your body uses the sugar that you eat, is altered just from, again, 2 nights of sleep. It's more likely to make you resistant to insulin, which is associated with diabetes, and it's more likely to make you gain weight. So there's a definite component with our metabolism and sleep loss, and there's lots of research proving that now. So we know it's extra important, especially if you have any genetic predisposition for diabetes. Sleep is really number 1, even over nutrition. And I can't even believe I'm saying that, right? It's all important, but sleep is number 1. And so just to kind of hit it home again, the cycle of poor sleep and our cravings and metabolism, we have poor sleep quality and quantity. We feel more exhausted, of course, but those hormone levels change just after 2 days or 2 nights. Our cravings for sugar go up, and that's because of those hormone changes and the impact it has on blood sugars. We're more likely to consume sugar, caffeine, right, to get us through the day more than usual, maybe. Energy-dense foods. We're less likely to consume probably nutrient-dense foods, right? Because how great do vegetables sound after a poor night of sleep? Not always the best, right? And our sleep quality goes down from what we're consuming throughout the day, not getting enough nutrients, and the timing of when we're eating and the amount that we're having for sugar and caffeine. This is just, again, an example. Maybe you don't drink caffeine, so this doesn't apply to everyone, but this is a common cycle that we can get into. When we eat those foods, then that can make the next night of sleep poor quality. And so that's just showing how that can continue on. So we want to figure out how to break that cycle. Your sleep quality and duration impact your risk of developing weight gain and obesity, diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, high blood pressure, depression, cardiovascular disease, chronic pain, and hangriness is what I put on there. Hangriness is actually a real term, by the way. So if you're not familiar with hangriness or being hangry, it's when you get in a bad mood because you're super hungry. Your blood sugar might be low. It's been a while since you ate. If you had a bad night of sleep, you're more likely to have that happen, where your mood's just impacted throughout the day, and you can get hangry. So it's actually a real term now, not just kind of a funny term as it started out as. And so the nice thing about this, you guys, not to be like, this is all negative, right? No, the cool thing is that when we optimize our sleep, that can really impact and decrease our risk for developing these diseases or helping manage them. It can really help manage them. So flip that mindset, and we want to think about positives. Pretty interesting though with sleep duration and weight. So you can see there's a U-shaped graph here, and this is basically showing you that if you see over on the axis there, so we have unintentional weight gain and increased body mass index. So as that gets higher, you can see when you go over to the right there, hours of sleep. So if you have poor duration of sleep, the lower amount and under 7 hours consistently, your BMI is more likely to get to increase, and unintentional weight gain is more likely to happen. But since it's a U-shaped graph, you can see that when you get to 9 hours and above, so the upper limit, past that upper limit, actually the same likeliness happens. So this is kind of another example of like too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. And so research shows that if you are sleeping more than 9 hours regularly, that can actually make you more likely to gain weight unintentionally if you don't need to, and increase the body mass index. So we want to keep that in mind, that sweet spot of really 7 to 9 hours. Now, again, there's a little genetic part that can go into play with this. So if you know you need 10 hours and that's for sure how much you need, you've been healthy there, then maybe, you're the exception to this what this research shows. So also poor sleep duration is associated with, promotes the expression of your genes related to obesity. So our genetics don't make us doomed to get something necessarily or to develop something, but our lifestyle impacts how our genes are regulated. So if they turn off or turn on. So the way I think of this is like the sleep duration being poor over a long amount of time can put the key into the lock to turn on your genes that would express obesity. So something to keep in mind there. All right, let's go to the polls again. And Amanda's going to pop up a question here about melatonin. All right, let's see the answers. So nice job, everyone. Yeah, really great guesses. So the correct answer is your gut produces 400 times more melatonin than your brain. So to review, basically what we know from today is melatonin is one of the hormones that regulates our sleep. We'll look at why it's important in a second here. But it's produced in the pineal gland in our brain, but actually way more of it is produced in our gut and lives there too. There's also some melatonin that's produced in our eyes, but it's a very small amount. Oh, let me get to the next one. So we're going to look at just a few kind of key parts, hormones, and then things within our health that impact how we sleep. And then we're going to get to like what to do and how to do it. Okay. We're getting there soon. So melatonin, it's a hormone made in our body. It's really the most important hormone for restful sleep. It also reduces inflammation and supports our immune system. So when we're sleeping well and our melatonin levels are good and we're supporting our melatonin in our body, that actually can help our immune system. They call melatonin the darkness hormone. So we have serotonin's the feel good, melatonin's the darkness. Our brain releases it in our body when we're either it's dark outside, nighttime, or say you work at night and you need to sleep during the day. If you have like blackout curtains or something, so you're in a dark space, maybe a mask, that can be really helpful for your body to say, all right, your brain says, okay, I'm going to send signals to the rest of the body using melatonin that say, go to sleep. So you can see the little signals going there throughout the rest of your body. That darkness is a trigger for that in a good way. When it's light out, whether it's natural daylight or a blue light, that's going to block your body's production of melatonin. That actually increases cortisol, which we'll talk about in a minute. And another cool thing about melatonin is that it's been shown to reduce symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome in people with irritable bowel syndrome. So those GI symptoms, whether it's constipation or bloating, or maybe it's diarrhea, heartburn can sometimes be associated with that too. But melatonin has been shown to help that. So it's all connected, but it's really the most important for our sleep. Now, a lot of people, clients I meet with will say, I've tried melatonin, it didn't work. And it might not work for you as a supplement if your melatonin levels are already efficient and sufficient, and that might not be the right thing for you. The other hormone that I want to spend just a minute here talking about is cortisol. So we talked about melatonin. When light happens, it increases cortisol, reduces melatonin. So they kind of have somewhat of an opposite effect. So cortisol is what helps wake us up in the morning. So there's light, our body starts to wake up, and then cortisol gives us a nice boost of energy in the morning, or it should. It's also referred to as the primary stress hormone. And so it does get a little bit of a bad rap sometimes, but we need cortisol. It's just that we don't want to have too much of it all day. And so we can thank cortisol and be happy that cortisol is helping give us energy. Makes us feel alert. It helps regulate our blood pressure. So it keeps our blood pressure from getting too low. It regulates our metabolism, and it impacts allergies. People with insomnia are more likely to have high cortisol levels in the evening. And you might be wondering, well, why does high cortisol in the evening matter? Here's why. So this is called the cortisol awakening response. And that is the natural pattern that cortisol should happen for us during the day. We're going to talk about how this can get messed up and why it's important. But here's what this is showing you. So our cortisol levels on the left, it's measured in the saliva a lot, like if we do a test for this in a clinic or something. But what should happen with our cortisol is we should wake up, and then our cortisol should spike. And then it should slowly come down. So you can see there that spike is at 30 to 60 minutes after you wake up. We should have a good boost to energy, or maybe clearness, alertness. And then it should slowly come down throughout the day and the afternoon. And then it gets nice and low at night because why? Our melatonin production is ramping up, cortisol is staying low, and then melatonin and other hormones are helping us sleep, right? Well, my whole point of showing you this is that related to our lifestyle, really. So what can happen is if our cortisol is higher at different, times of the day, that can impact our melatonin levels, and this whole pattern shifts, right? Or maybe our cortisol spikes in the morning, but it doesn't come down until way later. And then you're really alert at night, and you're not sure why. So this might apply to you if, say you feel like you have a lot of stress in the afternoons or the evenings, or it's kind of go all day, and you don't really get a chance to just kind of breathe ever. Your cortisol spike could be there in the morning or whenever you wake up, but then it doesn't actually get low here like it's supposed to. And it has little bumps throughout the day where it's too high. And that will impact, again, that whole cycle of your hormones. And so I want you to really think about your stress levels in the afternoon, evening, and how they might be impacting that. This is a few reasons, or a lot of reasons, how that can get out of whack. Stress is one, trauma, different sleep deprivation, gut bacteria, our age, inflammation, if we have short-term sickness or illness. So you guys will get all this info after, but I want to make sure to explain that because cortisol is a good thing. It's just if it's high all the time, it's going to cause those bumps in our regular pattern, and that is what can contribute to sleep issues. The next section here is our gut-brain connection. So now we're getting more into the food. So the gut-brain connection, our gut-brain axis, they call our gut our second brain now. They're super connected. And so our gut makes neurotransmitters and hormones, regulates our mood and stress, and it helps us absorb nutrients. The main part of this for sleep is that we have trillions of bacteria and gut bugs living in our gut. And you can see the picture there, but some foods feed those beneficial bacteria. Those are the foods I want you to eat. And I have a list for you coming up. And so why does this matter? Well, the gut-brain connection, again, impacts those sleep neurotransmitters. So if you have poor digestion, poor nutrient absorption, or some gut symptoms going on, that can really make your sleep symptoms worse, and vice versa. So I call it the highway to health, because it communicates in both ways, right? So our gut bugs actually, they influence our circadian rhythm, and if they're angry because they're not getting the food that they want, they can disrupt it. So I like to think of all these billions of bugs living in our gut. They're working hard for us at our gut lining, but they need to be fed, right? And we want them to be happy. We want the number of gut bugs to increase that are helpful for our health. We want them to start families and neighborhoods and communities and be thriving and living in our gut, right? And so in order to do that, we need to feed them certain foods. And those foods are prebiotic foods and probiotics, which are the bacteria. I have a list for you when we get to the tips here shortly. So research shows that the more variety and amount of good gut bugs we have, the better our circadian rhythm is. So gut health is very important. The next part when it comes to our nutrition is the meal timing. So when you eat and what you eat can be a really big game changer in how you sleep. So here's the kind of basics to know that during the day, people who eat all their food within 12 hours are more likely to feel more rested in the morning. And so that sounds easy, but again, maybe reflect back. Okay, say you eat at 6 a.m. or something. Do you really finish eating all your food by 6 p.m. that day? Some people do. Some people, that might sound so unrealistic because of responsibility, schedule, but think about that. You're more likely to feel more rested if you eat all the food within 12 hours. Make your midday meal your largest meal, larger than your evening meal. Now, I live in the Midwest, grew up here. I always had a larger dinner. I think that's kind of a Midwest thing. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but research shows that actually we want to start our day out when you're ready to eat after you wake up, whenever that time is for you. You want to have a nice balanced protein meal, and then make sure that that second meal is your larger meal. And then if you have a third meal, that it's smaller. That makes for better sleep. Research shows that when you eat more food earlier in your day, you have increased quality and quantity of sleep. Around bedtime, you want to eat the last meal of the day 3 hours before sleep. Amanda, are you coming on here?
Yep, just want to give you a time check of about 7 minutes left.
Okay, don't worry. We'll get to the tips here shortly. Thank you. Just keeping me on time. Love it. So 3 hours before sleep is your last meal of the day. Again, that's helpful because your body, as we know, thinking back to what's going on when you're sleeping, your body needs to be resting and it can't be digesting food. So if you eat a late dinner or supper or whatever, or you have lots of snacks after that meal before you go to bed, that actually can keep you awake and cause poor sleep quality because your body isn't supposed to be digesting. It's supposed to be sweeping. Housekeeper is supposed to be there a little bit, moving things through that are just byproducts of digestion. Later dinner makes sleep quality worse. And then if you have to eat close to bed though, like say you're actually super hungry, you need to have a snack or something, try not to have too much protein if it's within that hour before bed. Stick to a carbohydrate and healthy fat. All right. So potential barriers to good sleep. We kind of, talked about these a little bit, but some of these are kind of obvious, right? Your sleep environment, your sleep habits, your internal clock, changes in your schedule, having a later night, earlier morning every now and then. Again, pretty obvious things. But then our gut bugs can be a big one too. And when we eat and what we eat. I'm going to go on to the next one for timing purposes. So now here's what we want to focus on. And I have a whole list of these things for you, just so you know, a handout that you'll get kind of with the synopsis of, okay, here's the foods to focus on. I want you'll go through it, print it, circle the foods you like or highlight them, and then just focus on those, okay? But tryptophan is a precursor to melatonin in our body. This is the one that everybody associates with like Thanksgiving meals and turkey, right? But you can see those tryptophan-rich foods there. When you eat those for your part of your evening meal, that crosses into your brain, and that helps make serotonin, melatonin, and research shows when you have that in the evening meal, you have better sleep quality, less likely to wake up throughout the rest of the night, and you feel more rested in the morning. All right, so tryptophan kind of is nutrient number one. Probiotics, going back to the gut bugs and how they can either influence our sleep nicely or disrupt our circadian rhythm. So probiotics come from those fermented foods, yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, miso are really good sources. It'll vary a little bit on how much they have. Focus on eating them regularly, just planning them in and having maybe one source at least every day is a good way to start if you're not having any currently. And then the prebiotics. So prebiotics are these foods listed here that actually feed our gut bugs. So this is what makes our gut bugs happy and they want to thrive and build families. And again, give us more beneficial and a larger amount of bacteria. So we need prebiotics. You can't just have the probiotics, you need the prebiotics too. Those are helpful for your circadian rhythm and your sleep. Magnesium is another key nutrient here. This helps your body manage stress and it helps pump up that release of melatonin. 50% of us are not getting enough in our day. So here's your food list. Look at those foods and kind of decide, all right, which ones do I like and what can I add in regularly? Getting them from food first is a great way to start before looking at supplementation. And then vitamin D. This is my last nutrient here. And that's involved in a lot of things, right? We know it's super important for our health, but it's a hormone vitamin. So vitamin D is involved in creating those sleep regulating hormones. And if you have restless leg syndrome or sleep apnea, you're more likely to have low vitamin D. So we can get some from sunlight, of course, safely. Think about your skin. You just want to be getting exposure to natural light for sure. But then we want to look at where do I get it in foods that are fortified or natural, and then maybe consider a vitamin D supplement or talk to your provider about it. All right, we're going to have you do one more poll and then we'll go through a review of what to do and go from there. We'll wrap up. So answer this for me. Do you currently practice any of these to help your sleep? And you can check any or all that apply or none. That's why you're here. And I think Amanda will show us the results. Nice. Great. Look at that. Lots of people are limiting their caffeine intake, especially. Awesome. Thank you. So as we wrap up here, we have 3 different levels of tips. And there's a lot of info on here. Like I said, you're getting these slides, so I don't expect you to read this all right now. But we have levels 1, 2, and 3. So level 1, these are the things that I'd recommend look at these, start with these before you go to level 2 or level 3. These are going to be things like small changes within your lifestyle. So again, avoiding alcohol or caffeine within a certain amount of time, the meal sizing and timing. So that's huge, limiting the amount that you have and when stopping eating earlier. And then check your medications, make sure none of those are stimulants. There's things that could be you're doing that are good for your health, but that accidentally maybe are impacting your sleep. Complete moderate intensity exercise 3 hours before. Don't watch the news at night if it stresses you out, and don't check the stock market at night if it stresses you out. Again, these sound like no-brainers, but you might be not even realizing you're doing it. And then journal if you get At night, sometimes when we finally get to rest, if your brain turns on, then it's all the things that can make you feel anxious. Write it all down and commit to just not thinking about it again until the morning. Get it out of your head, right? And then the second one for level 1, planning. Plan the bedtime, set an alarm for you to get ready for bed. If you are getting to bed late, don't judge yourself, because then we're already feeling like it's already going to impact us the next day. Let go of any of that judgment. Turning off the blue light screens, and maybe setting a timer for that. And here's some smartphone and tablet apps. Now, this list actually I got from the Institute for Functional Medicine. I personally use Calm and Insight Timer for sleep meditations and all different types of guided imagery. And they even have, I think, like LeBron James on there and Matthew McConaughey reading bedtime stories. So like, and other celebrities too. So there's a lot to choose from. Keep those in mind. Again, those are level 1 things that you want to make sure you're kind of hitting all those categories. Then look at level 2. So level 2, really optimizing your food timing even more. Maybe track when you're eating and what you're eating, and make sure that you're not accidentally kind of off on that and not supporting your sleep. And then look at those food lists. And like I said, plan in all those different foods you like from those different lists, and really get consistent with that. And then level 3 would be going to supplements. So melatonin can be a helpful supplement. For melatonin, it can be helpful for falling asleep, not necessarily staying asleep. It can reduce the time. You want to start really low with melatonin, so you can see the amount on there if you are going to try it. Magnesium glycinate can be helpful for staying asleep. So if you've tried all the level 1 and level 2 things and you're ready to go to a supplement, look at magnesium glycinate. Start with a low amount, take it at night, that 200 milligrams, and see if you notice anything before increasing it. L-theanine is another supplement that can be helpful, and vitamin D. So those are the 3 levels of kind of how to implement these things that help with nutrition and lifestyle tips for sleep. And I want you to just choose one. Choose an action goal, that you can start with, and just choose one. And just go with that consistently and see what you notice. And then layer some more in. All right, I want to make sure, Amanda, that we go to questions. I do have just a little info on launch here. Amanda, do you want to share? Are there any questions in the chat? Being mindful of time.
No, not yet. People are eager to get the handout.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't worry. You will get it with all of the lists on there. Feel free to type in any questions in there, or thoughts, comments, anything that you're already doing that you feel validated on even can be good. But I hope that you learned something new about how sleep impacts how your body uses fuel or nutrition, and then how what you eat and when you eat can impact your sleep. If Amanda, interrupt me if anybody types in the chat any questions or anything. Just want to share here, if you're not familiar with Launch, we offer nutrition programs and culinary programs on demand. You can see the list there. We have one for women's hormones, gut health, if you really think that's impacting your sleep, brain health, prenatal nutrition, and these are all on demand. For doing this webinar, you're going to receive a special 50% off code that you could use to purchase one of those programs now through the end of March. So that will be in the email. Also, if you have Thrive Pass as a employer benefit, we're in Thrive Pass, and you should be able to purchase our programs through Thrive Pass as well. So you'll be receiving these codes for 50% off an on-demand program and 10% off a nutrition appointment, which is a private appointment with me virtually as well. Amanda, any questions? Okay.
Yeah, one just came through. I've been taking 5 milligrams of melatonin for 3 years. Is it bad to continue taking it for long term?
I guess I would ask back, is it helping you with sleep? And if it's not, you could consider a break from it. But 5 milligrams isn't crazy. Again, everybody reacts differently to things. So starting even at 1, some people really notice a difference just with 1 milligram of melatonin. 5, if you're tolerating it well and you feel like it's actually helping you sleep, then you could continue to take it. Maybe try though, if you're wondering, you could try taking a break.
And then just one other comment that we have a couple of people on from different employers that we partner with that already get all of our programs for free included. So you don't have to use the 50% discount. You already get all of those programs.
Awesome.
So check with your HR team. And if you don't have it, let us know. We'd love to talk with them.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And if you have any questions about the programs, reach out to us too. Any other thoughts, Amanda? Or questions?
This is great. Thank you. We're good.
Good. No questions. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, thanks so much for joining us today, and look for this email in your inbox. Have a great day.